All right, guys, once again, live, Ultimate Call-Out Challenge 2019, and I'm here with Collin over at the Thoroughbred Diesel booth. Tell me a little bit about day one.
Day one so far, hadn't been too bad. What we ran into as soon as we got here, we had a lake in front of our booth, and we pushed the water out, and it started raining as soon as we got the water pushed out, and it came right back. So we've been fighting that. We've got wet feet. Sales have been good. Traffic's been good. Don't really have any complaints, but I've only made it out in time to see one truck run down the track so far.
I got in late last night. Half of our staff over at Calibrated Power, they set up the booth, of course, yesterday. And I get a photo of our booth, and there is a blow-up duck in this pond in front of our booth. And it's like a standing water by us, but where we stand in the booth, it's dry. So I don't know. I think I'd rather have what we have going on than you. So that sucks to say the least.
Straight up. Yeah, we've got enough room there. We could probably float a couple big ducks, but yeah, it's no good.
So tell me about, Ultimate Call-Out Challenge, the biggest event of the year, the DPI Expo, which, what we're currently in the middle of is by far the biggest as far as diesel-specific vendors, okay? Even though the weather was, not the best today, tell me a little bit about the day one the day one outcome.
Day one outcome, as far as I saw, weather permitting, like I said there before, good crowd, good turnout. We've had some good sales. I think it's been overall pretty good, man. No joke.
I know this is my second year. Last year Friday wasn't super busy. Now Saturday's the money day. Saturday's where everything kind of shit hits the fan.
So from what I've heard here, anyways, is Friday people kind of walk the ground. They scope it out, see where everybody's at, and then I hear Saturday is, like you said, big money day. That's where everybody comes back to buy. I'm kind of anxious to see what Sunday holds, though, because last year when we were up here, it seems like when the sled pull started, it seemed like, it kind of headed more towards the sled pulls and not so much in the vendor row. So I'm anxious to see what happens there.
Yeah, if you look at the layout of how the event is, vendor row is behind the bleachers of the drag strip, and in the middle of the drag strip, and on the side of the drag strip there are multiple mobile dynos that the dyno event is happening. So Friday and Saturday, between the competitors and the qualifiers, that gets flipped. One day it's drag racing, and then the next day it's dyno, and then the qualifier or the competitor, they swap that around. But Sunday, it's sled pulling. So the sled pulling is on the opposite side of this arena, if you will. So you can't really get the foot traffic or the cross traffic for the vendor row, essentially.
Yep. And I'm hoping by Sunday, by the time that gets here, we're going to have more arm power up here. Chris and JT and everybody's coming up. So Sunday, I'm hoping that I get enough time that I can go over and actually hang out and watch the sled pulls and stuff. Because sitting in a booth all weekend, man, it makes for a long weekend.
Talked to a couple guys, a couple of my buddies, they're like, oh, it's so cool you get to go to this event and this and that. This for us, the people that work for these companies, this is a work trip for us. We don't get to spectate. We're not the ones getting to watch the trucks run. We might get a glimpse here or there, but, you have to hustle. You have to sit there, work the booth, talk to customers, talk to other vendors that you work with. So you don't get that real world, come here and enjoy yourself for the weekend.
Yeah. I agree with you there 100% because most of the time, even my buddies back home, they're like, oh my God, you get to go up there, you get to hang out, you get to get drunk and have a good time. And I'm just like, that's really not what it is at all. At the end of the day, I'm here to service my customers, get more money, bring it in, and really, just make it all out a great event. But it's work. That's all there is to it.
Was there anything coming to this event this year that, you hope to get to see firsthand, or any records broken or trucks that you want to see, anything like that?
Well, I'm really anxious to see who's going to be the new winner since Mr. Three-Peat's not going to be here. That's really what I'm hoping for. I hope somebody out there good that deserves it, gets to win it. But no, it's going to be interesting for sure.
So when you say Mr. Three-Peat, you're referring to Levon Miller, who opted out of being in the event this year. You said you were curious. Let's be real. Who do you want to see win?
Oh man, I'd kind of like to see Lenny and Donovan do something. To be honest with you, I've always liked what I've seen out of that truck, and Lenny's a good all-around guy. Donovan seems to be pretty stand-up too, and I'm really kind of hoping. I'm really pulling for him. To be honest with you.
both of those guys, Lenny and Donovan, they have a good group, a good camp. They posted a video about a week and a half ago, Truck on the Dyno. I watched the whole thing. I was very impressed. It seems to be the general consensus when I ask guys that question, it's either that camp or it's going to be Derek Rose. What do you think about Derek Rose?
So last weekend, R&R Brand Management, Ryan Husted and Glennis and Jaron Holder came down and hung out for the day. And Holder was kind of leaning more towards the other way, the other camp. He seems to think that that's going to be the winner there. But again, I'm just going to have to go back to Lenny and Donovan.
I mean, the cards are in his favor. He's improved points, the last couple years. He has been runner-up to Levon. So, I mean, as far as a crowd favorite is concerned, I mean, it's him.
It's him, yeah. As far as a crowd favorite, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's probably him. But like you said, going back and watching the videos and stuff that Lenny and Donovan have posted up, I've got to stick behind them.
They built up the hype, the anticipation's there. I'm excited. Every time I see that truck, it's a neck breaker, to say the least. Not taking anything away from Derek Rose. That truck is definitely impressive. But there are other contenders in this lineup. You have, Sean Baca from Industrial Injection. Every time that truck's on the dyno, it's a crowd pleaser. The sled pull, he does fairly, he places in the top. The drag strip, necessarily not so much. It seems like there's a lot new improvements on that truck, suspension and whatnot, weight coming out. What do you think about him as a true competitor?
So that, I'll be honest with you, I really haven't followed him that much. The thing that I get out about it is, and I'm not sure, now most of these guys, I feel like they come from the dyno and drag racing side of things, and when they get out there on the track on Sunday for the sled pull, I've sled pulled before, and I mean, I know like what happens and what to do and where to go, and some of them I don't know. I'm kind of anxious to see what happens there, but just coming from the dyno and the drag racing background, the sled pulling's kind of a different thing there.
I mean, definitely, this is a driver win-it-all scenario. You could have all the power in the world, you could have all the turbochargers, all the sponsors, but at the end of the day, and I think Levon has proven this, being the winner multiple years in a row at Diesel Power Challenge, winner for multiple years in a row at Ultimate Callout Challenge, ever since its inception, there's no debate that guy can drive a fucking truck. I mean, there is a lot of driving skill that needs to take place to win this event.
Oh, yeah. I agree 100%. And one thing, that I think guys need to get out and do, maybe, as far as on the dyno, I think anybody can get on a dyno and, I mean, get to where they need to be. Drag racing, yeah, I mean, that's going to take a few times here and there, but really getting your grip behind you, I mean, on the sled track, I'm not saying anything, but I mean, maybe get out and practice on the sled track, just a little bit more than what you normally do.
Well, that's the hardest one to practice. It's not very often that you can go and rent a sled and go to a prepped track. Yeah. So, you kind of have that variable, and at the same time, it's a lot of these guys at the UCC. I mean, there's only a handful of guys, maybe, Dirty Hooker Diesel, as a really true competitor in the sled pulling arena, where he'll flat out tell you, I don't care about, drag racing. That's not my thing. And he did fairly well, sled pulling last year. My eyes, I would say, I think in the Duramax camp, I mean, he might be a force to be reckoned with too.
Yep. Another thing that I'll tell you, going back to it, Eric Merchant from last year. That truck, I haven't got to see it yet in person, but last year when they windowed the block, they pulled the motor out of the buggy and slapped in there. That was something to see. So I'm anxious to see what happens there with him too this year.
Eric, long time, relationship with him from the business perspective of it. Eric is such a great guy. Eric is one of those guys where, a week and a half before this event, he was at our shop. I had Bob, tuning the truck and working with Eric. They're very close friends. And then he comes here, and it was just one thing after another. And what they did swapping that motor out, at the end of the day, Eric had a smile on his face.
Oh, yeah. And like you said, at the end of the day there, I think if you can come out here and you can compete and you can lay a number down here and there, I mean, put a show on for the fans, that's really what it's all about. And I mean, that's what he did. He pulled something together out of his ass, basically, and got it going.
To all the listeners out there, Eric Merchant's truck originally was built on spare parts. The truck was sitting in the shop. This was not intended to be anything where some of the other competitors have had this truck. Their truck's proven, they're seasoned. They've been on, in the competition circuit for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And it goes to show, once again, with any customer, when you're doing a build, whether it's 500 horse, 700 horse, there are obstacles that need to be overcome. Things are going to break, and there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And then for these guys to do motor swaps in 12 hours, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like last year, me, Wade, and JT came up here, and we didn't get to see it that night, but I think they did that Thursday night, correct?
I believe it was Friday night.
I believe it was Friday night. Friday night, they windowed the block, and when we came in here, they hadn't slept, they hadn't ate, they looked tired, pale-faced, and we finally got the story, and I just looked at JT, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, these boys are legit. But no, man, kudos to them.
I think, those are only a couple of the names, right? But then you have 40 qualifiers. So it's just, there's so much going on this weekend. I'm excited to see how everything, unwraps or unveils itself. Any last minute words, anything you want to say?
I don't really have anything real abundant to say, but I mean, just as long as everybody gets out there and has a good time, we put on a good event, man. I mean, it's going to be a good weekend all around, for sure.
Now, in a month, you guys have your event, which I'll be going down to Kentucky. Tell us a little bit about that, what it looked like last year, and what changes you have going into this year.
All right, so last year we had an event at Mountain Park Dragway, Clay City, Kentucky. It was the first year that we ever tried something different because we normally have our Judgment Day, Dino Day, there at the shop. And that's like a really close family-oriented type thing. But it was getting to the point we were getting so big at that, it was getting a little dangerous, to be honest with you. For those of you that don't know, we have a side road right next to the shop. The trucks pull off the dyno, pull out of the shop, hit the side road, and it gets a little crazy. Last year, our owner had to get out there and shut some drag racing down, actually year before last, and he decided, he was like, guys, we're getting a little bit too big for this, we might need to get into something different. So we got the drag strip. We were going to have a sled pull, drag race, and dyno up there last year. The sled pull didn't really make it out like it needed to. The drag racing got there, and I mean, the drag racing we had a good time with. Dyno, people showed out for it. This year going into it, that track really didn't work out. So there was a pool going on at the Red Mile, kind of like a benefit pool, and it got to the point where they're like, this could be something. Well, Adam jumped on board, and Adam said, I see potential in this. He said, let's try to partner up on it. So we partnered up on it with Battle of the Bluegrass out of Kentucky, and they're going to be the sanction that runs the pool. We're going to have vendor row there, show and shine, dyno, and sled pools Friday night and Saturday night. But it's going to be a good time. There's going to be some beer drink, memories made. Thursday night will get pretty wild for the vendors and everything coming in because we're going to try to go downtown and have a good time. Friday night, 2.5, 2.6, and street class are going to pull. The street class that we have is basically stock appearing charger, stock fuel, everything. They'll get out there and they'll have fun, basically like county class, like county open class. Then Saturday night, they're going to have the tractors, and they're going to run the 3.0 class and the semi class. Saturday will be the show and shine. Adam's got pretty good payouts for it. He's posted up the rules and the classes and everything for the dyno, so they're up on Facebook. All the event information's on Facebook. But no, it's going to be a good time, man.
You said something, earlier about the dyno event, being more of a family-oriented thing. Thoroughbred Diesel as a whole, you guys, I've been dealing with you guys now, going to all your events for the last 5 years, and you guys are all very welcoming. Yourself, Adam, the whole crew. Last year, there was some poor weather that came into an effect. The drag racing was definitely good. The dyno was definitely good. There were some people that had some issues, with the sled pull stuff. But you're revamping it, and that was year one. People really have to understand. You literally went from an open house shop day, dyno day, which your shop is perfect for dyno days, by the way. And I will definitely say the burnouts in the racing got a little hectic and out of hand, to say the least. So I'm excited for next month. It's the first weekend in June. So, we'll be seeing you guys down there. I'll have all this stuff. We'll be doing some talking on that as well. So I appreciate that, and thank you.